Hello, friends. Welcome into this edition of Seattle Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Schultz here with you. Thanks for joining us. We got a lot of roster moves to go over for your Seattle Seahawks when it comes to the active roster, the practice squad, also injured reserve. We'll go over everything that John Schneider and Mike Macdonald are cooking up in just a matter of moments. Before we do that, though, folks, I want to break a new record here on today's show. The most subscribers we've got not a single video for the month of October is 122. Let's see what we can do to break that record today. Can we get at least 150 new subs on the channel? Here's why you should subscribe, folks. We're bringing you daily Seahawks coverage, sometimes 2 and 3 videos a day, live shows every Wednesday, watch parties every game day, breaking news, Q&A mailbags, and more. It's all right here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for free, youtube.com/Seahawks TV, and we'll get started with today's show. All right, let's get after it. What have the Seahawks been doing over the last few days? Quite a bit. Besides just the Ernest Jones trade, they made some additions and some subtractions and a few other things to both the active roster, the practice squad, and to the injured reserve spot. So let's go ahead and tell you what exactly has gone on. Hicks has been sent back to the practice squad, as has Jobe. Josh Jobe as well at the corner position. And then Eric Garror was released from the practice squad, with those two going back to the practice squad on that end. Then Damarion Williams, he was also added to the practice squad for Seattle. And then the two biggest moves of all over the last few days, Stone Forsythe was sent to injured reserve, while the Seahawks claimed linebacker Josh Ross from the Baltimore Ravens off of waiver claims. And we will go over those two more in depth coming up in just a moment. But the big news here is Stone Forsythe going to IR. Now, let's be frank about this. When it comes to Stone Forsythe, he is not a good football player. All right, let's be honest about it. Stone Forsythe has had his struggles. And I know some of you are thinking, like, well, we didn't need him anyway. And I understand that thought process. But let me challenge you a little bit here, folks. Although the Seahawks announced, and we talked about this earlier, that Abraham Lucas and George Fant are coming back from the IR/PUP list, and they've opened up their 21-day windows, they're not ready to go just yet. So even if you don't like Stone Forsythe, and believe me, that still hurts the depth at the position. So that's another injury, another guy you're shorthanded with on the offensive line. Meanwhile, when it comes to Josh Ross, this was a pleasant surprise for me for the Seahawks to be able to bring him in. And I think there's an idea in mind specifically of where he could fit into this Seahawks team, and I'll explain what exactly that is and the impact coming up in just a little while from right now. Before we do, how would you grade the roster moves by your Seattle Seahawks? Of the moves they've made over the last 72 hours, A, B, C, D, or F, get out your red pen. Let us know in the comments section below. Let's tell you about today's sponsor. That is PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. It's pretty simple, folks. You choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less, whether you're talking rebounds in basketball, goals in hockey, home runs in baseball, fantasy points in football, all sorts of different categories to choose from. And PrizePicks is a great deal they're offering right now, folks. They will give you $50 when you spend $5 for free. You don't have to get the money with PrizePicks. It's a great deal they're offering. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS to take advantage of this offer. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling pretty good heading into the weekend with what I'm going with on PrizePicks. I got Kenneth Walker III to have more than 64.5 rushing yards. I got Patrick Mahomes to have more than 229.5 passing yards. And you, too, can join me on PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. My grade for the moves that the Seahawks made, I'm going to go with a solid B here, as this wasn't anything earth-shattering, but it wasn't bad either of what the Seahawks ultimately decided to do. And I got to tell you, I like the addition of Josh Ross. This guy was an incredible story. A couple of years ago, when he was undrafted out of Michigan, he was a long shot to make the 53-man roster for the Baltimore Ravens. And what do you know? He had an impressive training camp, impressive preseason that year, and was on the Ravens active roster from that point, bounced back and forth between the active roster and the practice squad in Baltimore the last couple of seasons. And he and Mike Macdonald go way back. He played under Macdonald for 3 seasons, for 1 year at Michigan and 2 years with the Baltimore Ravens. He's played in 12 career games, including all 7 of the Baltimore Ravens games in 2024. His stats, nothing too flashy, 7 tackles off of 243 snaps. But here's the idea in mind that I have for Josh Ross in particular. I know that everybody's going to talk about the relationship he has with Macdonald, and that's very good. But even going back a step further, you think about he also played under Jay Harbaugh, the Seahawks special teams coordinator at Michigan as well. And Ross played a total of 345 special team snaps at Michigan under Jay Harbaugh. So I would think that he is going to be used primarily as a special teams player. And here's the reality of things. I don't know if you've been paying attention, folks, but the Seahawks special teams units have been horrible this year. They've been giving up a lot of big returns. We've seen that they haven't done a good job necessarily when it comes to their own coverage. We all know about the blocked field goal that cost them the game against the New York Giants. They have some work to do, and a guy like Ross with that special teams experience in Jay Harbaugh's system should help. And what's so unfortunate is that special teams prior to this year was not much of a big issue for the Seattle Seahawks. They had a pretty decent special teams unit in 2023, so there is some work to be done. A guy like Josh Ross could help. Meanwhile, let's talk about Stone Forsythe for a second. Placed on injured reserve with that hand injury. He did not play this last week against the Atlanta Falcons and was replaced by Mike Jarrell. And Mike Jarrell had a pretty solid debut. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks. This doesn't mean it's season ending. Now, I'm not saying that it won't be season ending, but at least for now, of what we know, it's at least 4 weeks for him. And he's the third string right tackle. We mentioned this earlier, that this puts Seattle pretty shorthanded as you started off, Abraham Lucas as your starting right tackle, but he hasn't played all year. We're still waiting on him to come back. He's in his 21-day window. You go with George Fant week 1. He gets injured. Then you turn to Stone Forsythe. And Stone Forsythe has just been horrendous this season. The only guy that likes Stone Forsythe, I kid you not, folks, is John Gruden. If you watch John Gruden's videos out there, he's talking, man, let me tell you about this Stone Forsythe guy. He's so gritty, plays some great football, man. Well, not the case. He's about the only one. I think John Gruden might like him more than his parents, but that's about it. Forsythe this year has given up the most pressures of any tackle in the National Football League by far, according to Pro Football Focus. 35 in the games that he's played. Stone is bad. And I'll say this, Stone, he's had his moments in the past. We all remember the Detroit game last year when he came through, but this might be addition by subtraction. But the good news for Seattle, though, is help is on the way, even though you are without Stone Forsythe now and you're searching for options. You go to Mike Jarrell, you turn to the rookie. Lucas and Fant are in that 21-day window to return. And my guess, and this is a pure guess at this point, is that the Seahawks feel pretty confident about the status of Abe Lucas and George Fant if they're willing to open up that 21-day window. Because if they are not healthy and on the active roster within that 21 days, their season is over with. They're finished. So that's a good sign for their progress that both these guys should be stepping up. For now, your offensive line for Seattle includes Charles Cross, Laken Tomlinson, Connor Williams, Anthony Bradford, and Mike Jarrell. We've seen a decent amount of Christian Haynes so far this year as well. And I would also look out for Jason Peters potentially to get involved at some point as well as kind of the replacement for Stone Forsythe on the offensive line, backing up Mike Jarrell for now. Will the Seahawks be fine without Stone Forsythe? I think they'll be okay. I don't think this is a huge deal to lose Stone Forsythe. Hopefully he gets healthy. Wish him all the best. But he's just not a good football player. What do you guys think? Type live for yes and for no. For continuing Seahawks coverage, subscribe now to Seahawks Today for the latest happenings on your favorite team each and every day. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.